I watched the new Demon Slayer Mugen Train movie, and let me say, oh my god, this movie changed my life. This man is now my favorite, so I decided to make a review video of the movie because this movie was amazing and I really don't have like any negatives about it. So let's get started. This movie was directed by, oh my gosh, I'm not gonna say this name, Haruo Sotozaki. That's definitely wrong, but yes, he directed the movie. It was released in Japan October 16, 2020, and it was just released, and I know in America, April 23rd, 2021. I was not a fan that it took such a long time to get it released, especially since it came out in Japan in 2020 in October, and it's been months, and now it just finally came out. But honestly, it's so worth it. It's actually rated R, and I was confused why it was rated R, but it was rated R for violence and gore, which if you've seen Demon Slayer, it's nothing different. It's the same amount of violence and gore as you would see in the show. So don't let that scare you away. You can. If you can't watch it, I think it's going to be on Funimation soon, and I know it's coming out on DVD in June. So be prepared for that, because I know I'm definitely going to buy a DVD. And the movie is a pretty good whopping an hour and 57 minutes, which is a pretty long time, but definitely did not feel like that long at all. So just a basic kind of first introduction plot that I found on the IMDb page was after his family was brutally murdered and his sister turned into a demon, Tanjiro Kamado's journey as a demon slayer began. Tanjiro and his comrades embark on a new mission aboard the Mugen Train on track to despair. I like the last part, to despair, because that movie gave me a lot of despair. So it was perfect. The movie did really well. I know in Japan, it triumphed over Spirited Away. Japan, it made for worldwide box office. So far, it's making over 456 million, but it's definitely going up. Because I know in here, in my area, they just keep adding time. So I know it's really successful. And while Spirited Away is only like 395.58 million, which that's a pretty big difference so far, which is pretty impressive. I know so far in, I think America alone, or I don't know, it was worldwide or America, 36.9 million tickets were so far sold, which that's pretty bonkers. So the movie was obviously a success. Why was it a success? So I have like 5 main talking points of why it was a big success. The first talking point was the animation. Now, if you guys seen the Demon Slayer show already, if you've seen the anime, you guys probably know that the animation is really gorgeous. They draw the characters with very bold outlines, and then how they draw the different technique, the fire, the water. It's so beautiful. It's like a work of art. It really does seem like it. And the movie totally lived up to that. It felt like a work of art. I noticed some CG, but it wasn't bad CG. It was really great. The fight scenes were very nicely made. I gotta say, it was very nicely made. I liked it because in the movie they had some parts where they did the animation bad on purpose, and I really love that because it really added more to like the plot and to the comedy of the movie. So I really like that. So it's not a shock that the animation was really good. I think we were all kind of expecting it to be good. I think I would have been really shocked if it wasn't good, but the animation is just plain gorgeous, and it's something that even if you don't watch the show, you could just kind of look at the pictures and the movie just for the animation. So my second talking point, number 2, is the voice acting. So I can't speak too much over the dub. I just prefer sub. So I watched the sub, and the sub voice acting was so good. Like you really felt these characters. Like you could tell like the voice actors really loved this role and were really getting into it. Rengoku's voice actor I love, Tanjiro's voice actor I love. I was actually really liking like Inosuke's voice actor as well. Just very well done. Even the demons were really well. I'm not gonna spoil you know who, but if you've seen it, you know who I'm probably talking about. But the voice acting was really great. I've seen clips from the dub, and I don't think it's too bad. I like Rengoku's dub. I like Inosuke's and Zenitsu's dub. Tanjiro's dub, it's hard for me to get into. It's just so, it sounds so different than like the sub. But overall for me, I know the sub voice acting was really great. It helped move the characters along, right? It helped move the animation and the plot, and the voice acting really just added to that because it really got more into the movie. So my next talking point is number 3, the plot. Plot was so cool. I really like in the beginning of the movie, it started off pretty much like right at the end, like, you know, spoiler alert, ding ding ding, if you didn't finish the show, at the end of the last episode of season 1, they were boarding up on the train. Literally the movie started off with that. I was worried that they were just all of a sudden going to be on a train, but I like how it was very continuous, that, you know, once the movie's out, like on DVD or on demand, you could watch the show and then you can immediately go right to the movie because it follows back to back. I really liked that. The plot was really beautiful. I knew the spoiler part at the end, but I didn't know how they were going to get to there, and it wasn't what I was expecting of how they were going to get there. I thought something else was going to happen. It definitely definitely took me by surprise, especially since I know sometimes I'm pretty good at getting plot twists, but it was definitely a good plot twist at the end because I didn't really know what to expect. And I feel like, you know, all the characters really got like a good development. The plot really had each character shine. Even the villains, even if they didn't get a lot of screen time, they really kind of built more on the character of who they are, and I really liked that. And I feel like there was a lot of great morals to the movie that the plot showed. All this is leading into number 4, the characters. Wow, the characters. Honestly, I feel like this was the best part of the movie because usually I can't stand Zenitsu and Inosuke, but I really liked them. They were like toned down, they were better. You could see all the different sides of them when they were like upset, when they were angry, when they're happy. You saw kind of more about each of what the character was about in a less annoying way. I know Zenitsu, I couldn't really stand him crying all the time and like, you know, being like the perverted one, but he wasn't just that, and I really appreciate that they kind of added more. Tanjiro, I feel like his character development is already so great. I really like Tanjiro, and I just liked him more in this movie. The end, there was something that Tanjiro did that kind of annoyed me. I didn't like that because I think if he didn't do that, it would end differently. I think it would have been a happier ending. And Rengoku, I don't even need to talk about this guy. This guy is, I love him so much. Like, I'm seeing the movie again just because all his scenes were amazing. Every scene he was in was my favorite scene. He was so likable to see, like, on the screen. So likable. I remember I really liked him in the show, but like, they didn't really go too much into his character, so I couldn't really get into it. But the movie really got into his character, and he was just such a lovable guy. Like, really, like, oh my gosh. I'm literally wearing a Rengoku shirt, and I have this, and then I bought a Rengoku keychain, because now he's like my favorite. Oh my gosh, his character was so good. So spoiler right now, this is a big spoiler. If you don't want to see it, skip to this time right here, so you don't spoil it. Okay. Is there anyone here that saw the movie? Guys, can you believe that Rengoku freaking died? Like, I couldn't get over that. I was sobbing my brains out. When I think it's Akaza? I can't remember his name. He stabs him in the stomach, and then he's still trying to cut his head off. Wow. And then like he sees his mom, and he dies smiling. Like, holy cow! Like, that was so beautiful. I was sobbing. I was so sad. I wish he got more screen time because like he was so good. I was so sad that he died. And I know like other stuff happens. Like, I don't know how it gets there, but I've seen some spoilers. And I'm scared because I got so emotional over this man. I can't even imagine with everything else that's gonna happen now. I know it's gonna be a train wreck, but I was so sad when he died. I had to bring that up. Usually don't want to bring up super spoilers, and this is a big spoiler, but oh my gosh, I couldn't. That was like one of the best parts of the movie, but one part of the movie that I'm not looking forward to seeing again because it was just so heartbreaking. Now that everyone's back, now I have number 5, breaking the norms of a typical shonen. So I think you guys might know, but Demon Slayer in general really breaks the norm of a typical shonen. I really like how its emphasis isn't on just like, oh, like the lovable, goofy hero who's like insanely strong for no reason, but like everyone loves him. Tanjiro like has weaknesses. Like, you know, he's not perfect. He's not super strong. There are plenty of other people stronger than him, and he's not entirely concerned about being strong. He just wants to save his sister. I love that as a general. I really just like this movie because the characters were just not about just like, we're gonna fight the bad guys. It was more like, we're fighting the bad guys, but we're kind of getting to know the bad guys as we're going on. Even though like you didn't get to know too many of the villains here, you could tell like you're going to get to know them, and I have a feeling I'm going to end up liking some of the 12 Moons because I feel like this was already starting to build up that like they're going to be really likable. You're going to see other starts of their personality. I also think Rengoku also breaks the norm because, you know, of the thing, and usually shonens don't usually do that, or if it is, it's not really a main character. It's, you know, like a side character or someone who doesn't really add to the plot too much. So that's also a shock. I also like how a lot of the characters, even though they're really strong, they're not super overpowered. Like, you can see how they're trying to be able to get there, like Zenitsu. Like, yeah, his one move is overpowered, but he only knows how to do one move, so it's not super overpowered. And even though it seems like, you know, like Rengoku and all the other Hashiras are insanely strong, they're not. Like, it's like normaler levels of strong. It's not like, I always like to compare it, it's not like Dragon Ball Z strong, where it's just ridiculous levels of impossible. It's like, you could get there. You could see how it gets there. I think also the art style also breaks the typical shonen. It's definitely drawn differently, and in general the sympathy shown to like the bad guys and to good guys, to the demons and the demon slayers, I think breaks apart a typical shonen. And I think Tanjiro is the main reason for that he has so much character built into him. He's just so likable, and not saying that like shonen characters aren't likable. I love Goku, but like he has more sides to him than a typical shonen character. I guess that's what I'm going to say. So in conclusion, the reason why this movie was so good was because the animation animation, the voice acting, the plot, characters, and how it breaks the typical shonen. So 5 things. And this is also, keep in mind, this was also during a pandemic, but we're still going through COVID right now. So it was able to make all this money even when movie theaters couldn't even be at its maximum limit. It's still making a lot of money, and it makes me think, if the movie wasn't out now, how good would it do? How still good would it do? I think, timing was also an interesting point, that things are now starting to open up again, and this movie just came out, and now people are seeing again. But I also am curious, if they were to extend until, movie theaters are open even more, how it would be. But I think it's also interesting that people are still wanting to go see this movie, even though there's still COVID. It goes to show, how great the show is, and how even better this movie is, because in my opinion, I've been rewatching the show again. I think the movie, is so much better than the show. I think it really gets even better, and I'm really looking forward to season 2.